Well, I warned you that I'm going to say that this lecture and video is copyrighted to me, Paul Vereshack, and it was given for the first time in Melbourne, Australia, 8/2003, and tonight we're in Heidelberg, and it is, here's the date. Does anybody know what date it is? we're in 2008. Sorry, I said 8003. I should have said 2003. I'm a little confused. It's common among therapists to be confused. So, all right. Okay. So I'm Dr. Paul Vereshack, Paul, if you will. I don't use the doctor thing unless I'm in a formal situation. And the 1-minute autobiography is that I was born in England, but I was raised from a very early age in Toronto, Canada. I have the degrees that I have are I'm a Bachelor of Arts, a Doctor of Medicine. I have a diploma in psychiatry, and that involved 12 years of full-time training in the lecture halls and hospitals and mental hospitals of the University of Toronto teaching system. I've been in practice for 42 years, and for the last 30 years I have pretty well exclusively devoted myself to the processes that I'm going to talk with you about tonight. Many of you know that I have a book on the internet called Help Me, I'm Tired of Feeling Bad, and the official name is The Psychotherapy of the Deepest Self, and if you're intrigued and delighted with tonight's lecture, you can go to my website, paulvereshack.com, or you can Google Help Me, I'm Tired of Feeling Bad, and there you will find a great deal of reading material, which was written very simply, because when I got interested in this kind of therapy, at one point the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I looked around to find a book of instructions to send to them, and there wasn't one. So I thought, well, I've got to sit down and write what I'm doing, and it's got to be simple, because I was going to be judged by anesthetists, radiologists, skin doctors, all the people who really know psychiatry, and I knew I had to make it very, very simple. So the book that I have on the internet is very readable and easy to understand, and it's there for you for free if you want it. Now, I wonder if they can hear me chewing on that. And this video, folks, is going to be a big hit, let me tell you. Okay, all right, okay. In the approach to psychotherapy, in the universities, and I suppose almost everywhere in the world, you gain credibility by seeming to answer. Wow. There's a lot of light reflected off here, I'm sure. You gain credibility by seeming to answer the question, why? Causation fascinates intellectual people. It fascinates university people. And I remember back in 1960, whatever it was, 65, I guess, when one of my first supervisors in psychotherapy was a teaching analyst, sat down opposite my desk. Oh my God, a teaching analyst. And he said to me in a very serious tone, "Why do you want to be a psychotherapist?" And what came up for me was one word. I want to know why. I want to know why my parents were in such pain. I want to know why I'm in such pain. I had been plagued with depressions and anxiety for most of my life. Anxiety is the sophisticated word for fear. I had been afraid and depressed on and off through my adult life. And I really wanted to know why. As the years have gone by and as I've listened to various people talking about why we become emotionally upset, the theories have become more and more wonderful. more and more bizarre. You know, stuff like my father's sperm struggling up the fallopian tube, and the bliss of conception, and you know, the early sort of pan-global explanations that are floating around out there. And if somebody did this in the womb, then obviously they're going to be that way in later life. And I just begin to think to myself, oh my God. And at some point in the last few years, I shifted away from why. Because when somebody says to me, yes, you have a lack of norepinephrine in the globus pallidus or whatever, and I can't even remember what these terms mean, it doesn't touch me. It doesn't help me. It doesn't heal me. So I shifted my orientation without even recognizing what I was doing, because I always felt like a second-class citizen, because I would listen to these things and think, wow, how come I'm not connected to that? And I shifted my orientation in a very profound way. I realized that I was more interested in the word how. Here I was, all these years of training, all these years of practice, still depressed, still anxious from time to time. And I began to think, well, how can I live a life that makes sense? How can I help myself? Which is probably why the book was called Help Me, I'm Tired of Feeling Bad. I think I was talking about myself, actually. A lot of the book, I think, is an externalization of my journey, but I think it's the human journey. I don't see myself as anything other than human. So tonight, I'm going to take you on a journey into the word how. How can a human being work with themselves in such a way that life becomes manageable, and even beyond manageable, actually becomes joyful? So, we're not going to concern ourselves with causation tonight. We're going to concern ourselves with a set of processes and techniques that any of you will be able to use, and that have certainly saved my life and do every single day. So, that's the introduction. I learned when I was looking at the video from last year that I was giving one long stream of information. I thought I have to break it up. So that's the sort of early introduction. So let's define psychotherapy. It's just my own definition. Psychotherapy is the formation of a conversational relationship for the purpose of healing emotional and physical pain or illness that is grounded in the emotional. And there are two main streams of psychotherapy. One is called directive, and the other is called insight-oriented. Directive therapy, in directive therapy, the therapist tells you how to be, how to think, how to behave, how to feel. He's a specialist in reframing situations that he can then advise you on how to handle. I don't have much interest in that, although I do a little tiny bit of it based on the principles I'm going to show you tonight. But basically, let's take directive therapy and stick it over there, because we are interested in the other great stream of psychotherapy. I'm actually looking at people. I guess I'm given this thing so often I can actually look at people. The other great stream, or the other side of psychotherapy, is insight-oriented psychotherapy. And the idea is, of course, that there are things going on in us that motivate us and influence all sorts of aspects of us that we don't know about. So, let's do a very short, simple history. How did I get here? Why am I talking to you? Why am I excited about the particular processes I'm going to show you tonight? Who contributed? One of the things that's been amazing to me is that when I read about the deep feeling therapies, my favorite people are often not mentioned. So I'm going to take you on a little journey. It'd be pretty difficult to have insight-oriented psychotherapy if you didn't know that most mental processes lie underneath our conscious awareness. In fact, we couldn't do it. So I'm very lucky tonight because no psychotherapist would ever have a lecture without mentioning Freud. And because I'm talking about this, we've got to go back to Freud. Why does everybody talk about Freud? What's the big deal? The big deal is, in addition to all the stuff he wrote, huge amount of stuff, but the big deal is that he gave us the first quantum leap in psychological consciousness when he said to the world, most mental processes lie underneath your awareness. And that's, he called it the unconscious, the subconscious. We won't get into defining those terms that closely. What a staggering idea. We wouldn't be anywhere. It's the same as Einstein coming along and saying, you know,